Hey, UW nursing students here. Gonna train you in on Narcan. Narcan is the name that you most commonly hear. That's what people on the streets will say, people in common areas will say. Naloxone is the generic name that you'll hear in the hospital setting. It's also the name that the pharmacists call it. So if you're going into the pharmacy to fill a prescription, naloxone might be the name that they recognize the drug by. Both of them mean the same thing and are referring to the same drug. Explain a little bit how Narcan works. These are representing opioid receptor sites in the brain. When you ingest opioids, so heroin, Oxycontin, whatever opioid, whatever it may be, it goes into your system and it binds to these receptor sites, these opioid receptor sites. It activates these sites, and that's when you get the high that you'll feel, so the sense of euphoria. That's also what causes the decreased respiratory drive. When you administer Narcan, what happens is Narcan enters the system and it has a higher binding affinity for these receptor sites. And so it literally kicks the opioids out of those receptors that they're bound to. So you'll go away, and then it binds to it. What's unique is that it binds to it and does not activate it. It just binds to it and blocks it. So then you'll just have a bunch of opioids free floating in the system, unable to bind to these receptor sites because Narcan has now blocked them. This is why once you administer Narcan, within 30 to 90 minutes, the drug wears off and whatever is still in the system will bind back to those receptor sites. Okay, so some noteworthy facts about Narcan is that it was FDA approved in 1971. Narcan has been around for some time. It's just recently gained popularity because of the opioid epidemic and crisis that you see nationwide.
Some ways to recognize if someone has overdosed and needs Narcan is if they look like they're sleeping and you can't wake them up, if their face is bluish or grayish color and their lips are, or fingernails, or if you just can't wake them up and you have a bad feeling, that would be the time to administer it.
If you do think that somebody has overdosed and you are trying to initiate contact with that person, I know that comfort levels sometimes can be a barrier to that, so even just shouting in the person's ear, hey, are you okay? If you still don't get a response, you can do something as simple as kicking the person's foot lightly to see if maybe that will arouse them. If you still don't get a response, you can grab the person's shoulder and squeeze a little bit. If that still doesn't get a response, you can also do a sternal rub where you put your knuckles on the person's chest and rub up and down. Sternal rub usually will get somebody's attention. If it does not get somebody's attention, then something is wrong. And you know that the person might be overdosing because they are not responding to any of the outside stimuli. The first thing you want to do is call 911. Initiating the sequence of events after that will all fall into place in the right timing, but it's very important to get EMS dispatched to wherever you might be. So what I would even do in certain circumstances is call 911, place the phone on speaker, place the phone down on the ground while I'm hands-on with the patient. You can also grab a bystander who's walking by and ask for assistance. They can manage the phone call with 911. And then, get them on their way.
When you actually go to administer it, the first step you'll want to do is peel open the packaging, and then you'll take the Narcan and your 2 fingers will go on top and your thumb on the bottom plunger. You'll put the end piece into either nostril up till your fingers touch their nose, and then you'll push on the bottom plunger to release the medicine into their nose. After administering the first dose, you'll want to lay the person on their back. If they don't immediately wake up, you'll want them to lay them onto their back and begin rescue breathing. If after 2 minutes there doesn't seem to be any change, you'll want to administer a second dose, so go through the steps again, and at this point you may also need to start CPR. If someone has overdosed, immediately call 911. The Good Samaritan law will protect anyone who also has been using drugs or has drugs in their possession, so definitely call 911 regardless and you will be protected.
The Good Samaritan law also protects any innocent bystanders or somebody that might be passing by, as long as you're giving reasonable aid to somebody that you believe needs help. You are protected under this law, so don't hesitate to give Narcan. because you're afraid you might be penalized or that you may be legally involved with whatever might be going on with that person. It's always good to help somebody out when they need help.